I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. Last week's column covered four different systems, often lumped together and termed socialism. Those four are state socialism, state capitalism, democratic socialism, and social democracy. While our perceptions of them are shaped by how we think about freedom and fairness, the key differences among them come down to one essential element: who holds the power. Now, imagine four ways to run a chip manufacturing company like Intel. Under state socialism, the government owns the company. Party leaders and federal bureaucrats decide which chips to build, how many to produce, and what to charge. State capitalism is where the shareholders own the company, but the government owns a controlling share or exercises heavy influence through subsidies and regulations tied to political goals. This gives government officials significant say in major strategic decisions. Democratic socialism, in this case the company which competes in markets, is owned by the workers who elect the board of directors and make decisions collectively. Social democracy, in this case the company is owned by the shareholders. Workers may have seats on the board, like in Germany. There are strong labor protections and high corporate taxes, and usually high personal taxes too, and these fund social programs. Shareholders get lower returns because of the high taxes, say lower returns than with a capitalist economy, or one that has a pure free market system. Now, some policies that many Americans fear as socialist actually distribute power more widely than state socialism or state capitalism. Organizations like strong credit unions, strong unions, worker cooperatives, energy or food cooperatives, mutual aid networks that put control directly in the hands of community members rather than corporate executives or state bureaucracies. Meanwhile, other programs embraced by many Americans, like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the SNAP program, and farm subsidies, involve significant government intervention in the economy. These are not state socialism because the government doesn't own the means of production. They're better understood as social insurance or industrial policy within a mixed economy. When the government has ownership stakes in private companies or uses subsidies to pressure CEOs on political priority, that looks more like state capitalism. And recently, just for an example, the U.S. government has taken partial control of companies like Intel, GM, Chrysler, and AIG. They've demanded changes in corporate leadership. They've placed Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac under permanent government conservatorship. And they've used the CHIPS Act subsidies to dictate where companies build facilities and what wages they pay. Well, this isn't traditional free market capitalism, yet it's often accepted quietly, even by those who adamantly oppose socialism. I saw this dynamic firsthand when Rapid City considered adopting home rule. I was on the commission at that time that was looking into this. Home rule would have brought more local control to local government. Voters defeated the effort in favor of keeping decision-making power with state government. Ironically, we're skeptical of ideas that spread power to ordinary people. But we tolerate policies that centralize it in the hands of government officials and mega corporations. So why the confusion? Decades of Cold War rhetoric trained Americans to think capitalism equals freedom and socialism equals tyranny. The Soviet Union called themselves socialist, so we assumed that's what socialism meant. I was one of those. But advocates of worker cooperatives were actually critics of the Soviet model. They wanted a society built on small-scale democracy, cooperation, and shared ownership, not government control. Meanwhile, the U.S. calls itself capitalist, but many of its recent policies function more like state capitalism than free market capitalism. And that leads to the real question. Who do you think should hold economic power? Entrepreneurs, businesses, free markets, and shareholders, which is capitalism? Government bureaucrats, state socialism? Political insiders working with favored corporations, state capitalism? Workers in democratic organizations, democratic socialism? Or a mix with strong regulation and taxes, but private ownership, which is a social democracy. In considering different approaches to government and economics, the word socialism may carry too much baggage to really be useful. We might be better served to stop arguing over labels and focus on the real issue. Who do we want to hold the power? Thanks for listening.